Fitness Extravaganza had their 10-year anniversary party. It's about 2 blocks away from campus and 3 blocks away from the apartment I share with my friend, Hank. Have you ever heard of the freshman 15? Make it the freshman 25 for me. That's the estimated amount of weight a freshman will gain their first year at college and living on their own. That happened to me last year, except it wasn't no estimate. I'm a sophomore now, losing the battle of the bulge. None of my old clothes fit, and I can't believe the pudgy person in the mirror is really me. I'm Larson Dethen, Lars to my friends, age 19, soon to be 20, and I haven't declared a major yet, though I'm leaning towards journalism. However, there are so many required core classes and writing-intensive prep classes that I don't have time to think. And then there's my job. I work at the school newspaper as a kind of proofreader, backup reporter, layout designer, gopher kind of guy. It's great work, and I love it, but I'm hating my life. I'm getting fat, I'm overworked, and have no time to hang with friends. Or even date. Why so much stress? Dad is helping me finance college. That's the good news. But his big rule is that I graduate college by the time I turn 21. That's the bad news. The money faucet turns off then, and Dad begins paying for my little brother Darson's college, whether I've graduated or not. While Dad covers tuition, all my money is going to books and housing and basic living. I don't have the finances for new clothes, so I'm wearing the only thing that fits. Old, frumpy sweats and stretched-out t-shirts that are too worn to even be used as cleaning rags. I complained to my older brother, Garson, and he said, "Do like I do, and kill the stress at the gym. Besides, you'll work off the extra weight, and you'll have some thinking time to figure out what to do." Have you noticed? My family is into weird rhyming names. Garson, Larson, Darson, and Dad is named Carson. And guess what Mom is named? Madison. I went to check out Fitness Extravaganza, and was rewarded the instant I walked in. Some nicely built, cute guy named Dustin, who wore black gym shorts and a tight black tank with the words Fitness Extravaganza written across it, and had biceps chiseled out of stone, and pecs I couldn't stop staring at, and dreamy topaz eyes, and caramel-colored hair with golden highlights, and a trimmed, dark, scruffy beard, and smooth golden ivory skin, sold me a 1-year fitness plan at discount rates. I only half listened to the sales pitch, because I kept fantasizing about him. Something about 50% off our normal rate, and it's locked in for a year, he said. Free access to weight rooms and fitness classes, and a discount at their healthy smoothie bar, and preferred customer status at their boutique, where I could purchase any Fitness Extravaganza merchandise and clothing at a discount. And for a little bit of extra cash, I could get my own private locker, which I did. I think I really bought the membership because he was hot, and I liked talking to him, and would he say yes if I asked him on a date? Then I glanced at my stomach overhanging my pants. Nope, no siree Bob. Who'd want to go out with chubby me? How cheap can I eat for the next year? It would be worth it just to stare at perfectly sexy Dustin. The day after their anniversary special, I had brought my old gym clothes. They were about the only thing that still fit. The plan was that I'd change into street clothes when I was done with my workout. As I entered, the gorgeous, sizzling, perfect Dustin was at the front desk helping someone. Next to him was a well-thumbed book titled Learning to Live Again, A Survivor's Guide, and a notebook with various pride stickers stuck to the cover. Does that mean he's gay? I hope so. I scanned my membership card through their reader and went into the men's locker room. The time on the wall said 6:03. Their locker room was big. 2 sections contained row after row of half-sized lockers for attendees and visitors, and 1 section had full-sized lockers for paying members. Since I paid the extra fees, I am an A number 1 member and I get a full-sized locker. The 4th section contained 2 soaking tubs, a large hot tub, a jacuzzi, a set of 12 showers, a sauna, a steam room, several tanning beds, and a stand-up tanning booth, plus a wall-sized posing mirror, racks of fluffy white towels, a row of professional medical scales, several changing stations for babies, and a basket containing complimentary protein bars for members. I grabbed one of those. Don't get me started on the bathrooms. They were bigger than the bathrooms at the Student Services Building, or even bigger than my parents' 3-bedroom condo. Did I mention that Mom and Dad were fighting about what to do with my old room? Dad wants a TV room, and Mom wants a crafts room. The only thing they agree on is putting my stuff in storage. I assumed the ladies' side of the gym had a similar layout to the men's locker room. Problem number 1. My locker was next to yet another wall-sized mirror. Can't we cover it up with a towel or something so I don't have to see myself? Problem number 2. Everybody in the gym was extremely gorgeous and sculpted and looked like a model. Some guys were built like a Ford truck. Color me intimidated. Problem number 3. I exited the locker room into fitness hell. I had arrived early this morning, thinking I'd have a chance to look around without very many people. Who would ever go to the gym at 6 in the morning? Stupid me. Evidently, everybody. There were lines waiting for every treadmill and every weight machine and every stationary bike. I stood in line for the bike with the shortest line. A sign on the wall said, "During peak hours, please limit your time to 20 minutes. As I waited in line for the bike, I looked around at the chaos. Racks and racks of dumbbells. I've never worked out, so I don't know how to use them. Racks of something called kettlebells. What are those used for? Benches for free weights, and stacked to the side were tons and tons of free weights. At the back was a sign that said, "Racquetball courts. Please sign up at the front desk." Then there were the machines. Dozens of treadmills with television sets attached, and stationary bikes, also with television sets, pull-up bars, at least I recognized those, and odd vertical machine things where people stood on them and sort of jogged while holding moving handles. Was this a medieval torture chamber? Off in the corner were various sizes of punching bags. A side area was a classroom, and a group of people currently practiced yoga. A set of shelves by the attendance office held books and flyers, each detailing some eating plan, like vegetarian, vegan, plant-based, Mediterranean, keto, low-carb, high-carb, starch-based, Atkins, paleo, people with allergies and food sensitivities, gluten-free, sugar-free, substitution diets, intuitive eating, food counts, eating to beat cancer, diabetic, low-carb diabetic, 80-10-10, intermittent fasting, how to survive chemo, anti-inflammatory diet, long-term fasting, intermittent fasting, and something called carnivore. I picked up that one because I had to see what it was about. A meat-only diet? Seriously? I never did like vegetables, so maybe I'll try it. I'd heard of some of these nutrition programs, but I didn't know what most were. On a separate set of shelves were even more books and flyers about exercise programs, like CrossFit, jogging, curling, spinning, aerobic dancing, anaerobic fitness, introductory weightlifting, advanced weightlifting, boxing for beginners, yoga, advanced yoga, yoga for the pregnant woman, Tai Chi, Qigong, how to prevent injuries, racquetball, stretching, calisthenics, and on it went. Some buff older guy sat at a weird machine called pectoral flies, fiddled with some kind of knob, and began some type of vertical arm exercise. I don't get it. I had bought a 1-year membership for this? Somebody wasted their money. Last time I listened to my older brother. One person was ahead of me waiting for the bike, playing on their phone, and one person was on the bike. I looked at my phone. Workout or not, I had to leave for work in less than an hour. "Come to the gym," my brother had said. "You'll have fun, meet people, get in shape, have a healthy way to deal with stress." "Come to the gym and play on your phone" would be more like it. Finally, it was my turn. Oh my God, look at the control panel. Bikes don't have control panels. You get on them and pedal, but this panel looked every bit as complicated as the one on some sci-fi starship. I give up. I went back to my locker. Look at all the sexy, hot guys in the locker room and in the showers and going into the steam room, and they're wearing styling workout clothes and had the bodies of Greek statues. And some wore nothing at all. Oops, I averted my eyes. They are not wearing baggy, too big, worn sweats to cover up their stomachs. How many six-packs can I count? 1, 2, 3, 12, 15. Crap. No way am I staying here. A gym is not the place for me. I got my street clothes from my locker, and rather than changing in the locker room with bodies I could never compare with, I hid in a toilet stall and changed. On my way back to my locker, I glanced at the sign above the jacuzzi. Rules. 1. No shaving in the jacuzzi or hot tub. 2. No sex in the jacuzzi or hot tub. 3. Urinate in the restroom, not in the jacuzzi or hot tub. 4. Clean up after yourself. 5. Shower before entering the jacuzzi or hot tub. Every hot tub and jacuzzi had the exact same sign. It didn't make me feel any more comfortable. On my way out, I stopped at the main desk and scanned my card. Dustin, with his perfect body and perfect hair and perfect everything else, sat at the front desk. Look at his arms. I'd give almost anything to look like Dustin. He must have a perfect life. Dustin quickly put the well-worn book and the notebook into his backpack before giving me a big smile and asked, "Did you have fun, Larson?" I ignored his question and asked, "How can I get my money back?" "The contract lasts for 1 year," he said, his smile slightly disappearing. Great. I'm out the money. I laughed. What was I thinking coming here? The clock said 6:29. "See you next time, Dustin," the gorgeous, perfect buff guy cheerfully said. No doubt he was born with a body like that, and he's perfect. He doesn't have a problem in the world. I left, not looking back and not answering. There wouldn't be a next time. A month later, and after a tiring day at work, I got back to the apartment I shared with Hank. We live on the 3rd floor. Celia Watanabe, my 5'2" Japanese neighbor, stood at the bottom of the stairs, standing next to 5 grocery bags and looking like she wanted to cry. I guess an Uber had just dropped her off. She looked tired, beyond exhausted. Maybe that's because she's tiny and very pregnant. "Need some help?" I asked. She nodded, her eyes spilling tears. "When are you due?" I asked. 2 months, she said. "Life is hard now. I don't even want to think about what 9 months will be like." "Do you have family nearby? Where's your husband?" I asked. "Mom is flying over from Tokyo when the baby's due, and Shinji is working as much overtime as he can, so he won't have to when the baby comes," she said. It took a second to help her up to her 3rd floor apartment, the apartment across from mine, and another second to bring up her groceries. Just that little bit of work, and I was winded. She tried to give me $5, but I waved it off, saying, "Make your husband buy you some ice cream and pickles." She smiled and said, "Don't laugh. For me and baby, it's lemon meringue pies and rice crackers. I scoop the pie out with the crackers and give the crust to my husband." Chuckling, I asked, "Boy or girl?" "Boy," she said. "We're thinking of calling him Jesse, and he's going to be a linebacker because he can kick." Hank was still at work, so I made a big pot of cheesy noodles, opened up a textbook, and shoveled cheesy noodles and cheap chili-covered nachos in my mouth while I did the readings for tomorrow. The good news was that tomorrow's essay was done. The bad news was that I used Hank's scale, and my freshman 25 had turned into 30. I'd gained 5 pounds in a month. I made sure to never mention anything about the gym to my brother, Garson, and since he never asked, I'm hoping he forgot about it. About 7:30, my phone rang with an unknown number. I answered it. "Hi," said a nervous voice. "I'm Dustin with Fitness Extravaganza. It's been a month since you signed up, and our records indicate that you've only been here once, stayed for half an hour, and never came back." I listened, not sure what to say, so I replied, "How did you know?" "You scan your membership card to enter and exit," he said. "I would appreciate it if you could tell me what about our facilities turned you off so we can fix the problem, and I'd like to invite you to come back." "Well, for starters," I began, deciding whether to tell the truth or not. I jumped in with both feet. "I fell for the pipe dream you're selling. There is no way I can ever look like the men I saw there. All fit and buff and looking like models. I don't own any fancy workout clothes. So I don't fit in. I don't know what I was thinking. So I walk in, can't get on a machine because it's too crowded, and I can't even figure out the stupid stationary bicycle. It's a bike, so why is it so complicated? Then don't get me started with all the weird machines. I have no idea what anything does or how to use any of them." "Why didn't you ask for help?" he asked. "Everybody was busy, and the crowd was huge, and I had to go to work, so I just gave up," I said. "Did you know," Dustin said, pausing, maybe taking notes, "because you signed your contract on our anniversary special, you are entitled to 21-hour sessions with a personal trainer. He can start you right from the beginning, walk you through the machines, the weights, everything, and if you're interested, he can also tell you about the different nutrition programs. What say you give us a chance to make things right? We have a trainer available tomorrow morning. What time can you be here?" "I have to leave for work by 7, I said. 6? "Great," he said. "I'll see you tomorrow morning, say 6:15 for a 30-minute session." "Does that mean I get 40 mini-sessions?" I asked. He chuckled and said, "Yep, Larson Dethen, you are now scheduled for session number 1, and I'll be your trainer." I walked into the gym a little before 6 the next morning. Some older, buff, muscle guy manned the front desk. Dustin's backpack rested against the wall behind the desk. The gym seemed half as busy as the previous month. After scanning my card, he said, "Larson, welcome back. I'm glad you decided to give us another chance. I'm George, one of the owners. Dustin is transferring the towels to the dryer, and he'll meet you by the scales in the locker room in a few minutes." I said, "Thanks," and walked into the locker room. Buff guys, built guys, sleek guys. What was I thinking coming here again? I walked to a toilet stall, changed into my old ratty sweats, and then stuffed my clothes into the locker. I avoided looking into the mirror, or at the various hot guys in different stages of undress. 2 minutes after I had changed, Dustin showed up, carrying an electronic pad. He wore black workout shorts and a black skin-tight tank that didn't hide any of his perfect abs, or the tight stretch as the fabric enveloped his perfect pecs. What was I doing here again? "Are you ready to get started?" Dustin said. "I hope you don't mind, but I adjusted your account so that today is the first day of your 365-day journey." "What do I do?" I asked. "Smile," he said, and took a full-body picture. Then he had me kick off my shoes and step on a scale. Damn, the number was worse than I expected. The sophomore 32. He must have seen my shocked expression because he said, "Don't get overwhelmed. Think of this as a long-distance journey, say from Miami to San Francisco, and as your tour guide, I'll help you get there, and we'll have some fun along the way." He took me on a tour of the entire facility, showing me every machine and how to use them, and the weight benches, and the dumbbells, and the kettlebells, and he introduced me to his friends, the guys who've been around for a while, the weightlifters. "Do you know the way to tell if people are serious about getting fit?" Dustin asked. "Look at the weightlifters. They're in it for the long haul. You see them here upwards of 7 days a week. They don't wear fancy workout clothes. They wear what's comfortable. But all the people in their fancy gear, I asked. It's all show, he said. Most of them are trying to impress the opposite sex. They come for a few weeks, but they don't last. What if that happens to me? I said, feeling the spare tire around my waist and trying not to look at my double chin in another full-length mirror. Why did they have so many mirrors? Dustin gave me a huge smile and said, Since I'm your personal trainer for the next 40 sessions, my job is to teach you how to have fun so you do stick around. He must have seen my skepticism, because he added, I'm with you every step of the way, so don't worry. True to his word, for the next week, he taught me how to use the treadmill, the elliptical, the stationary bike, and in the process, designed my own personal training program. We alternated days, designating upper body days, lower body days, and cardio days. Saturdays, I had a little more flexibility in my schedule. We did things a little different, and sometimes we tried the sunrise yoga class, or a calisthenics class, a spinning class. I even joined in a Tai Chi class a couple of times. We talked about the different food plans, and then Dustin surprised me. They may seem completely different, Dustin said, but they all have one thing in common. What does a vegan have in common with a carnivore? I scoffed. They both pay attention to ingredients, Dustin said, and because of that, they both get rid of junk food and sugar and eat naturally. I'd start with that little nugget. Avoid junk food and sugar. How do you eat? I asked. This is about you, not me, he said, but it seemed like a shadow crossed his face. His smile vanished, then flickered back, but it wasn't as brilliant as before. Everybody's body is different, Dustin said, and you must discover what works for you. I didn't want to go to work sweaty, so as the days passed, I worked up the courage to do something about it. I waited until the locker room was as empty as possible, stripped, had a 30-second shower. Without fail, every time some fit college guy always showed up, earbuds in, and I fled into a toilet stall and dressed there. 2 weeks after starting, Dustin was waiting for me by my locker, carrying his backpack. He had seen me sneak out of the toilet stall. Don't be ashamed of who you are, he said. Do you think the weightlifters care what you look like? No, they respect you for showing up and putting in the time. It's hard to think like that, I said. Dustin led me over to the scales and made me stand on one. He opened up his backpack and pulled out the pad. I got a glimpse of the survival book and the notebook covered in pride stickers. Most people are too caught up in their own heads to care what you look like, he said. But if somebody judges your body, that's not a person you want to get to know. He adjusted the scale and then smiled at me. Surprise! I looked at the number. Even fully clothed, I was 6 pounds lighter than when I had started. Dustin typed that number into his pad. I was shocked, so surprised that I turned around and hugged Dustin. It wasn't a bro hug, but a real hug, like one you'd see between two lovers. He hugged me back and whispered, See, you're on your way. I'm proud of you. You're conquering your life. Something inside me sang. Something inside me opened up. Something inside my eyes felt a little warm. I stepped away, suddenly realized that maybe I had violated professional boundaries. A little embarrassed, unsure if I should apologize, I stammered a quick, "Thank you." After all, I was a client and he was my personal trainer, but he didn't seem to mind our hug. Was I starting to like him? As in, could I date him? Would I have the courage to ask him out? With his perfect looks, I bet he already has a boyfriend, and if he doesn't, he could find one tomorrow. He had the perfect body and the perfect life. I bet this man had no problems. But he was gay, like me. I inwardly smiled and realized I didn't have the courage to ask him out. Maybe soon, though. I continued going to fitness extravaganza every morning, and my relationship with Dustin evolved. We became more like workout partners rather than trainer and client. Before I knew it, I'd gone every day for 2 months. Working out usually didn't leave me sore anymore, and I had mastered the machines. The exercise bike was still my favorite, though the progress I'd seen with free weights impressed me. I felt strong. I had become one of the regulars. Dustin gave me a present, a black tank like his with the words Fitness Extravaganza on it. One Saturday, I had arrived before Dustin. No one else was in the locker room. I very cautiously took my clothes off to see if I developed any muscles. In nothing but my boxer briefs, I examined my reflection in the mirror. My biceps began to have some definition, and my pecs were actually turning into pecs, at least in my mind. My stomach didn't have any definition, but it was flatter. I flexed my quads, the upper muscles on my legs, and smiled because the man in the mirror had quads and smiled back at me. I flexed my calves, and those looked great. I looked healthier, felt stronger than I had in years, maybe even better than back in high school. I raised my arms and flexed. Look at my chin. How about that? It must be my imagination, but my jawline is firming up. Looking good, Dustin said, stepping beside me. Crap, I'm practically naked. Startled, I jumped, losing my balance, and I fell. Dustin caught me. His arms were much more solid than I thought, and his warm breath was soft against my skin. I didn't say anything. He didn't say anything. It seemed like he held me for a minute or two, but it was only a few seconds. His touch made me hold my breath. Could he feel how fast my heart beat? Sorry, he said. Didn't mean to startle you, but look at the new you. You'll be breaking ladies' hearts in no time. Guys' hearts, actually, I mumbled without thinking. Dustin sort of nodded, hid his smile, and said, Any particular guy? I'm single, actually, I said. How could I tell him that the only heart that mattered was his? How could I tell him I loved him? Was it real love, or just puppy dog worship because he'd been there for me for the past 2 months? My 40 mini sessions with him would be ending soon. Could I afford to pay him to keep working out with me? Then my heart almost exploded in my chest. Dustin whipped his black tank over his head and kicked his shoes off. And while he quickly stripped, he said, Come on, let's go try the steam room. Can I leave my things in your locker? Look at his perfect body. Tight, streamlined pecs. Solid, hardcore abs. His shoulders were strong and firm and leading to chiseled biceps. I'd seen how much he could leg press, and the muscles in his legs proved it. Somebody hit a 10 on the sexy scale. I lusted after his perfect body and craved to look like that and felt ashamed that I wasn't anywhere close to that. Then Dustin dropped his shorts and his black boxer briefs. Oh God. I inhaled. The heat ran to my cheeks. Somebody hit a 12 on the sexy scale. In a second, Dustin tossed all his clothes and his backpack in my locker. Stunned, shocked, excited, humiliated, and really turned on, I stared at the perfect body of the perfect man. He walked over to the towel rack and grabbed us a couple of towels, but I could only stare at his retreating back. Look at the tight muscles. He wrapped a towel around himself. The man was wildly sexy with his clothes on. I was in serious trouble when he took his clothes off. But, I said. He came back and tossed me a towel. Let's make this morning a spa morning, he said. We'll hit the sauna and steam room, the jacuzzi, maybe have a long shower, and afterwards, what if I took you out for breakfast? I still hadn't moved. But, I said. His sudden concern was evident in his eyes, but I avoided his gaze. I, don't look like the guys here. He stepped next to me and softly said, Never be ashamed of yourself and stop comparing yourself to anybody else. Your journey is yours alone. Be proud." I must have blushed further or something, because he said, "Look, Lars, I'm on a journey too. The only difference between me and you is that I'm a little further ahead. Do I have parts of my body that I don't like? Plenty, but life is too short to let that stop you." "Then, you are on a journey too?" I asked. "Everyone is," he said. "I'll have to tell you about mine sometime." When I didn't say anything, Dustin continued, "I'm proud of you. Look at all the progress you've made. Now you be proud of yourself, because look at what you've done in only 2 months. Nervously, I stripped off my boxer briefs and quickly wrapped a towel about me and draped another over my shoulders. Before we entered the steam room, we stepped on the scales. What? I had lost 15 pounds? "You're amazing," Dustin said, "and you can quote me on that." While we enjoyed the steam room, and the sauna, and the jacuzzi, we spent the entire time talking. Mostly we talked about shallow, fun stuff like movies and workout routines. Dustin never mentioned what journey he was on. Maybe, deep down, everybody is exactly the same. We all have to deal with something. As we were leaving the gym, I reflected back to our spa morning. Was I more comfortable with myself because Dustin accepted me as I was? Or because I'd seen some improvements? Or because Dustin seemed to like me? Oh God, oh God, oh God. Me and Dustin, we'd been, without clothes. The entire morning. I blushed. Dustin gave me his perfect cute smile and adjusted the backpack over his shoulder. We had breakfast at a local diner, and halfway through our conversation, he asked, "I'd really like to see you again, outside of the gym. They're shooting fireworks at the park this weekend. 4th of July kind of stuff. Would you go with me?" Was this perfect man asking me out? I quickly answered, "I'd love to go see the fireworks with you. Maybe we could bring a picnic." Suddenly, my entire mind exploded. I had a date with my cute, perfect personal trainer. His smile exploded too. I think he was as happy about this as I was. As we finished eating, he pulled out his notebook, quickly made a few notes, and put it back. Though curious, I didn't want to pry, so I didn't ask him about it. Before we parted, we arranged to meet tomorrow morning, Sunday, and focus on free weights. I couldn't have been happier. I was about to go on a date with Mr. Perfect Body next weekend. That afternoon, I had to go to work and finish another paper. When I got home, Celia, her face red and she was sweating, was having trouble getting both herself and her groceries up the stairs. She'd be 9 months pregnant now and was definitely not loving life. I grabbed the bags from her and easily ran the stairs 3 at a time. Wow, maybe the gym had paid off. I helped Celia the rest of the way to her apartment and told her to lay down. She said thanks, once again offering me $5, but I declined, and we went our separate ways. Schoolwork awaits, plus dinner would be something a whole lot healthier than what I had been eating a few months ago. The screaming started at 3 a.m. I woke. For all the soundproofing the apartment owners had bragged about, it wasn't worth squat. Was somebody fighting? A woman screamed in pain, and I thought I heard something in Japanese. I opened the front door to a nightmare. Celia staggered to the top of the steps, a weird, pained look on her face. One hand was around her belly, the other held the railing in a death grip. She grunted, tears cascaded from her eyes. She had dropped a small suitcase, and it had fallen a couple of steps down the stairs. Her apartment door was wide open. She breathed in gasps. Was her baby coming right now? "Where's your husband?" I yelled. Getting, she yelled. The look on her face suddenly became intense, and her face paled. Her husband must be at work. Didn't she once say that her mother was supposed to help out? Her mother wasn't here. Celia was alone. Adrenaline surged. I don't know what I was thinking, but that didn't stop me. Wearing only gym shorts, I grabbed my keys, phone, and wallet and gently picked her up. I ran her down the stairs into my car. Somehow, I got her in my back seat, and we sped off. Did I even close my door? Where's the little suitcase? I'm insane. Celia screamed. Hold on, I yelled, and sped up. I dialed 911 and said, "This is an emergency. My pregnant neighbor is in my back seat having a baby. I'm hurrying as fast as I can to the nearest hospital." The man on the other end asked about my car and then patched me through directly to the emergency room. The doctor calmly asked, "What are her symptoms?" "She's screaming," I yelled. "Can you tell me more? How much is she dilating?" the doctor said. "Do you want me to stop the car or keep driving?" I yelled. "Are you the husband?" the doctor calmly said. "I'm her neighbor, and I found her at the top of the steps crying," I yelled. Suddenly, several police cars joined me, one ahead, one to the side, one to the rear, sirens ripping through the night. Somehow, we didn't have to stop for any light. All I had to do was follow the cop car in front of me. I kept talking, telling whoever was on the line whatever they wanted to know. In record time, we were at the hospital. I stopped in the middle of the ambulance entrance. My brakes squealed. Breathing heavy, sweating heavy. Celia groaned and screamed again. I jumped out, but the emergency team had already beat me to Celia. Several nurses helped her onto a gurney, and they wheeled her through the sliding doors and into the hospital. "It's okay to breathe, son," an officer said, placing a hand on my shoulder. "You got her here in time. Why didn't you call an ambulance?" "I wasn't thinking," I said. I took a deep breath, and after parking my car in regular parking, a couple of police officers took my statement, and we talked about the crazy ride I had taken. They had managed to get a hold of the father, and he was on his way over. By 6, a healthy baby boy was born. I learned later that the baby was a full 10 days early. My job done, I left the hospital. I was too wired to sleep or think, and I didn't want to go home. So I went to Fitness Extravaganza, my new home away from home. Besides, I had a spare set of workout clothes in my locker. Had it only been yesterday that Dustin and I had a spa day instead of working out? It seemed like weeks ago. Driving at a much more sensible rate, and after grabbing something to eat at Gordon's Gourmet Burgers, I arrived at the gym. The clock read 6:20. What a night! Nobody sat at the front desk, but Dustin's backpack lay there. Next to it was the worn copy of Learning to Live Again, a survivor's guide. He must have read that a dozen times for it to look so beat up. Maybe a good self-help book is something I could use. I'm sure Dustin wouldn't mind if I looked at it. I spun the hardcover book around and felt an inner horror surface around my heart. The subtext under the title read, "Don't let cancer stop you from living." We had talked about each other's families a little, but he never mentioned cancer. One of his parents must be a survivor. Was it his mom? I picked up the book, thumbing through it. Dustin had marked much of the book. Folded tightly inside the back cover was a couple of old doctor's pamphlets. How to Cope with Chemo, and What You Should Know About Testicular Cancer. His dad had cancer then. I thumbed through the book. It included a few questionnaires which Dustin had completely filled out. Near the end was a section on moving forward. The corner of one page was turned down. The section was titled, Reconnecting with People. I browsed through the section, turning the pages, and I found one that was titled, Time to Blossom. Don't be afraid to make new friends. Scribbled in the margins was my name and phone number. "That's private," came the deep voice of George, one of the owners of Fitness Extravaganza, as he walked up to the front desk. "It was just sitting here," I said. "Was it his dad that had cancer?" "Noisy, aren't you?" he said. But no, it wasn't his dad. I pictured Dustin the last time I had seen him, smiling, buff, full of life, perfect. Suddenly, I was afraid of the truth, but I had to know anyway, so I asked, "Was it Dustin?" George pulled out his phone, thumbed through his gallery, expanded a picture, and set the phone down so we both could see it. The picture was an almost skeletal man in a hospital gown. He was bald, nearly as blue as the pale blue sheets he lay on. But what haunted me the most was the sunken, shadowed look in his eyes. An IV went into his right arm, and his left was covered with small bandages. His timid smile broke my heart. Sad, brave, alone, trying to hide the pain. The look of a man who had lost everything. And it was my perfect Dustin. He was 17, George quietly said, a junior in high school. The cancer was a rapid-growing non-seminoma. 17-year-old kids don't get cancer, do they? I asked. You're thinking the seminoma varieties, which only affect older people, George said. Non-seminomas can affect anyone. By the time we became aware, Dustin's cancer had metastasized into the lymph system, but hadn't gone to another organ yet. How do you know all this? I asked. He's my son, George softly said. I'm sorry, I said, looking again at the picture. My heart broke. George took a deep breath and stared at the picture of Dustin. After a moment, he said, the doctors wanted to preserve as much normal function as possible. They wanted to save a bilateral orchiectomy as a last resort. A what? I asked, but I had already guessed. George's face screwed up with sudden emotion, and his eyes brimmed with tears, and he said, because Dustin was 17 at the time, they used an aggressive chemo to kill it. Took 2 rounds of chemo. The first round preserved the boys, and the second round finished cleaning up the lymphs. Dustin's immune system was so weak that he got pneumonia and was in the hospital, after chemo, for 3 weeks. What about the cancer? I asked. They got it, George said. You have to understand that a round of chemo is 12 weeks, with a 3-month rest period in between. Have you ever heard of chemo brain? There was no way Dustin could study or remember anything. His immune system was shot to hell. That picture is him in the hospital with pneumonia. Dustin was only 100 pounds. He was so weak. After he recovered, they moved him to an alternative high school with a reduced schedule to finish his junior and senior year, while all his friends graduated and moved on. Dustin seems fine now, I said, slowly closing the book. He's a survivor, but not without scars, George said. What do you mean? Does he have any side effects? I asked. Emotion broke George's voice as he said, his little swimmers are non-existent. My wife was almost hysterical when she heard. She wanted grandchildren. The urinologist hopes that given time, things will come back to life. Dustin has to go yearly for blood work to see if the cancer has come back. The emotion on George's face was raw and painful to see. He quickly wiped an eye. Everybody has their own journey, Dustin had told me. Don't judge them because you don't know what they've gone through. Dustin had told me that months ago, right when we first met. I took one last look at the near-skeletal picture of Dustin lying in the hospital bed, and suddenly felt the sting of tears in my eyes. It must have taken a lot of work to go from the cancer-ridden 17-year-old to the perfect man he is today. His path was harder than I could have ever guessed. I had a lot to think about. Tell Dustin to meet me in the sauna. I slowly walked to my locker, thinking about nothing. Thinking about my high school years. Thinking about what it must feel like to survive a nightmare. From what I saw in the book, Dustin had trouble connecting with people. Understandable. Not many people would relate to what he'd gone through. But that wouldn't stop me from standing by him, from being his friend. Maybe even more. My perfect Dustin found me at my locker a few minutes later, sitting on a bench, still in shock. We stripped, went to the sauna, and we talked. Deep talked. For the next hour, Dustin told me everything. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. Couldn't figure out how to, he said. How would I even start the conversation? Guess what I did back in high school. People don't like talking about cancer. It makes them uncomfortable. My boyfriend couldn't handle it and left. I didn't want you to feel the same way. Dad's okay with me. The guys I work out with are okay with me. My grandparents are just glad I'm alive. But Mom is a little weirded out because I'm an only child. There won't be any grandkids. This is your journey, I said. Be proud, because you're a survivor. He nodded. Same advice to you. I took his hand and kissed it before saying, Since you've helped me with my journey, what if I helped you with your journey? When do you go in for a checkup? About 2 months, he said. I let go of his hand and rested my hand just above his knee. Would you like some company? I leaned over, and though we were all sweaty from the steam room, and our emotions ran raw, and, we weren't exactly wearing anything, I kissed my perfect man. It was a compassionate kiss, a meeting of love, of gentleness, of acceptance. Dustin softly returned the kiss. Then we separated for a second, and then Dustin leaned in and kissed me. I held him close and whispered, Someday, if you and I work out, let's have a kid. For right now, come over to my place tonight, and I'll make dinner. Epilogue, Monday night, 36 hours later. Dustin came over to my apartment, bearing prime rib, marshmallows, chocolate, and graham crackers. I provided the barbecue, the steak sauce, and all the fixings for barbecued quesadillas. We sat on the little deck, watching the barbecue, and we talked. Then we ate. Afterwards, we sat on the couch and made out, and cuddled, and was just there with each other. About 8, the doorbell rang. I gave Dustin one last kiss and went to see who it was. Dustin followed me, not letting go of my hand. I opened the door to 3 people, but one of the 3 carried a tiny bundle. Celia, her husband, and a woman I assumed was her mother. All 3 looked exhausted. All 3 smiled. Hi, I said. Let me introduce you to my perfect boyfriend, Dustin. And Dustin, these are the people I was telling you about when I made my insane drive to the hospital. Celia, how's little Jessie? Celia tilted forward a little, just enough to show us the face of her newborn son. She couldn't stop smiling as she said, Mom, Shinji, this is my bodybuilder neighbor who rescued me. Her husband ran a hand through his hair, deeply bowed, and said, Thank you for taking Celia to the hospital. I should have been here, but it seemed so important to work as much overtime as I could. Some things are more important than work, and I almost missed one of them. Thank you. He bowed again. Just be there for your family from now on, I said. Especially your son. It's quite the journey he's got ahead of him. Secretly, Dustin squeezed my hand, and I didn't even have to look to know he was smiling. Celia gently smiled and said, I'd like you to meet Jesse Larson Watanabe. You named him after me? I said. My family owes you, Shinji said. Epilogue 2. Dustin and I became regulars at Fitness Extravaganza, lifting weights with the guys. Dustin helped me get in shape, and I went with Dustin to every one of his medical appointments. He remained cancer-free, and still is. Hank eventually moved out of the apartment, but Dustin moved in. He had never lived on his own before, but he adapted pretty quick. Our 2 journeys became one journey, one day in late April. I cried as I placed the gold ring on my perfect husband's finger. I contrasted the picture of him in the hospital with the vibrant, healthy man before me, the man I loved. Dustin placed the gold ring on my finger, smiling and crying at the same time. Dustin didn't have to face the future alone any longer, because I would be there. The end. Thank you, my friends, for joining me. I'm Gio. And If you're interested in hearing more stories of men falling in love, come visit my channel. I post a new story every Wednesday. Thank you for listening. Peace.